Right, so in this video I'm gonna talk about guard keymen for chainers. And I've done a video talking about what keys do in competitive play, so go check that out, linked in the description if you want an in-depth explanation first. But to explain briefly, keys in online play give bonus stats to your entire team depending on the player holding the key in the second half. So keys are very important for competitive. So you can see here when I put the keys on Kirino and Tasuke, both of whom are guard keymen, it gives a bonus of 8 guard. If I give it to, say, someone else like, I don't know, Kurimatsu here, Kurimatsu has body 2 and guard 2, so the guard increase is only plus 6 and the body is plus 2. Right, so out of the many stats available, the best stats to boost with keys are body, guard, and sometimes catch and kick. But chainers almost always go for guard keys, especially these days. Why? Because chainers typically don't attack using dribblers and they just stay in their own side of the field, so there is no need to play any body keys. Well, although chainers can play kick or catch as well, the meta we're in right now means you will mostly play against no mashers, so guard is what you should use most of the time to defend against no mash. And this brings us to the topic of this video, the guard keymen, characters that give a bonus stat of 4 guard when holding a key. Since you want to have a bonus of 8 guard in total, you will need 2 guard keymen at least. Kirino is typically considered to be mandatory whenever you want to play 8 guard. You don't have to use him, but he just offers so much as a Mixi Max defender. See there? And especially when you can use guard candy on him to make him a meta defender, because his guard will go from A+ to S+. So if you are guaranteed to use Kirino, you only need to choose one more other keyman. In vanilla, you basically only had Raimon to Fubuki or Sein as your only options, but with the latest 2.0 Extreme update, you do have a few more to choose from. I will categorize the keymen according to these archetypes: a chain starter, mid chainer, and utility. Chain starters are, as the name suggests, characters that start chains. Mid chainers are the ones usually put in the attacking midfielder position in order to do a middle chain, and thus they boost the power for the final chain. And utility are basically the ones that serve some other purpose that indirectly aids with chaining. So, first off, I will talk about the previously mentioned Fubuki and Sein. Both of these are chain starters thanks to their level 3 long shoot moves. Both of them have a charge speed of A, and both can dash, making them pretty decent chain starters. They differ in that Fubuki has a defense move. Here he has no angel, so he can do gauge adjustments and ensure that he can be charged whenever you need him. On the other hand, Sein doesn't have a defense move, but he does have a dribble, which is actually pretty decent, but nothing too good. So looking at this, Fubuki seems to have the edge because the ability to manage your gauge with a defense move is really valuable, especially when playing chain. But the reason why I think Sein is better is because his chain start is simply stronger. Sein has a kickstat of A+ compared to Fubuki's A, and Heaven Drive is 10 points stronger than Wolf Legend. Not only that, but Sein's Wood typing, together with Heaven Drive's Earth typing, makes his chain start less likely to be stopped completely by a deep jungle or a La Flamme shoot block, because this type matchup is at worst neutral for him. Now on the other hand, Fubuki's Wind typing, as well as Wolf Legend's Wind typing, creates a weak matchup against the previously mentioned shoot blocks, and together with his lower shoot power, this makes his chain starts much more likely to be stopped completely. The extra few points in power can often determine whether a chain is strong enough to score or not, so in my personal opinion, this is why Sein is the better chain starter, although Fubuki has his merits as well. Moving on, we can talk about the new additions thanks to Extreme 2.0, Goushu and Einamu. Goushu is a mid-chainer thanks to his Bakunetsu Screw and S kickstat, And in fact, you can even play him as a final chainer if you're not against an Endo or a Shinsuke. His access to both a dribble move as well as a defense move allows him to control his gauge very well, and he also has a charge speed of A. Overall, he is an incredibly good guard keyman, and in my opinion, he's one of the best guard keymen next to Kirino. Then we have Einamu, who can be classified as both a chain starter or a mid-chainer depending on how you use him. He has access to a long shoot in Plasma Ball, as well as a chain shoot in Gauss Shot. But both of these are only level 2 shots, so he's not powerful by any means, and he can only choose one of these, so he can't be a chain starter and a chainer at the same time. Plus, he also has no dashes, meaning he is vulnerable when chain starting. But the thing he has going for him is that, unlike the rest of the other guard keymen, he has a charge speed of S, which means he charges faster than them. And he has both a defense move and a dribble move. He could be a good pick if you know what you're doing, but I personally wouldn't recommend him unless you have a very specific plan with him, such as going for S chains through the middle or something like that. Now, if we're talking about traditional team compositions, these 4 players plus Kirino are the only guard keymen that you should use. But this is why I have the utility category for unorthodox team compositions. Characters that our utility don't fit in the traditional chain formula of using a middle chainer and 2 final chainers in the standard middle block formation. So first I'm going to talk about Tasuke. Tasuke is a bit of a Japanese signature because he is very often used by Japanese players and rarely used outside of them. And this is even more true for chain, and it makes sense. Why would you use Tasuke in a chain team? He doesn't have a shooting move. So why would you use someone without a single shooting move in a playstyle that's all about shooting, when you can use the other 4 keymen that can do exactly that? Well, that's the thing. You don't really use Tasuke for anything related to shooting as a utility keyman. Tasuke has a decent dribble move with a large radius and a decent defense move with also a large radius, and it can also shoot block. And both of these are actually pretty strong for being level 2 moves. He has a charge speed of A, and he can also dash. So as a result, he is a pretty flexible jack of all trades that doesn't really have a clear purpose though. He can use his dash and dribble to weave into enemy crowds to do multi-kills and set up for a chain starter. He can also use his defense move to catch enemy characters, especially defenders, off guard and steal the ball from them or just waste their gauge. But maybe now you're thinking, where is Tasuke going to be placed then? Second half chain teams often feel very cramped because you don't have enough space for chain starters, and especially because you use Kirino, who is not a chain starter. Therefore, where can you put Tasuke in a way that doesn't make this problem worse? And this is where the unorthodox team compositions come in. This is something I call a hollow composition, because although you are playing chain with the standard middle block formation, you don't have a middle chainer, making the middle empty, which is why I named it this way. This is a relatively recent invention that is enabled by the discovery of the slip chain, which enables players to chain through the middle without the need of a middle chain, which is why we can put Tasuke here. This basically frees up the attacking midfielder slot and essentially making it a redundant position, where you can basically slap whatever you want on there. And this is where you can typically put Tasuke in, at least it's where I put Tasuke in. In this position, he can do all the roles I mentioned above without having to take up a precious spot in the midfield position where you would want to have a proper defender or chain starter. And while at the same time, you can use Tasuke as a guard keyman. And this is a team composition that Infi, one of the best players in the world, likes to use for some of his chain teams. You can technically use Tasuke in either the volant or the side midfielder positions as well, but I wouldn't recommend this as it would make your midfield feel really cramped, and oftentimes you find yourself unable to chain start. So you're gonna need a very specific strategy if you want to put Tasuke at the side midfield or volant, for example. Now another, also quite recent discovery is to use him in an entirely different formation. This is the dot prison formation, or bow and arrow, which utilizes the chainer in the middle as often the only chainer in the team, which works because you can chain from all sides with only this one chainer. The common way to use dot prison is to use this central chainer only to score, therefore making these two wing forwards basically useless. Therefore, players have been using defensive characters in this position, often putting Kirino there or here in order to free up space for the rest of the team, particularly the defense and the midfield. People have also been using Tasuke here together with Kirino, where in this position he mainly leverages his dashes on the side to maybe threaten side no mashes, as well as using his defense move to catch enemy defenders off guard from way deep in the opponent's side of the field. This usage of Tasuke is virtually utilized by the few players who have picked up the use of dot prison in the second half. Essentially, all other guard keymen that have not been mentioned previously can be utilized under the utility category to different degrees of success. For example, Kimuro has great potential to be a solid utility character because he is an eligible partner to enabling Badup's Judge through 3. And Badup himself has great potential to become a meta chain starter. Somebody just needs to push the meta in that aspect. So in this case, you would be killing two birds with one stone, where you can use Kimuro in order to be Badup's partner, while also fulfilling the guardman criteria. You could also potentially use Drache or Ide in a hollow composition and use their height to score high jumps from the side. You could even use CS Kirino or R1 Kabeyama if you want a hyper defensive team. I mean, hell, you could even use Clara just because you like her character design. Now, for utility characters, it's really just up to your imagination and how much work you want to put in to make them work. Just as the chain meta has evolved so much with the new discoveries made in 2023, who knows how much further the meta can be pushed by using these unorthodox characters. And that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope it was helpful.